Better to go back and collect them now than be sorry about it later. It'll only take a minute. Leave you alone. You can see all the area that was covered in sink sand before. All this just used to be regular dirt and grass. So it's interesting to see how this area has evolved over the years. Even, like, you can see the stalactites are more lush and green. Got moss growing on them and stuff. And it's really interesting to see an area like that, where half of it is, like, thousands of years in the past and the other half is in the present day. It's a nice visual effect. And it's one that we'll get to see plenty of as we make our way through this area. And if I remember correctly, it's this one that has the time shift stone underneath it. Spoiler alert, as if you weren't expecting one of them to have it. So as you can see, all of these stones activate everything within a certain radius to be in the past state. And up here we have some vines that weren't here before in the desert. Allows us to get, wow, we're getting a lot of ancient flowers. I usually don't get this many this early. But you can see we have the desert all the way down here. Lots of secrets and stuff for us to collect, even though we can't do much with it yet. Just look at this area. There's so much around here to explore. But we have to make our way... If memory serves me, there's some interesting stuff over here. I don't remember if this is required of us, but we'll be back here at a later point anyway. So at the very least, I'd like to do some stuff here now. If we run along up here, you'll find one thing we have no use for yet. Like the propeller on the Elden Volcano, we'll be back for it later. And if we make our way down here, there's a little nook we can come through to find a treasure chest. I don't think this has anything more than another treasure. Another goddess plume, how about that? I don't remember how many of these we need to craft everything. It can't be more than 2 or 3. So I think we're doing pretty well in that respect. And there are more ants. I guess we could collect them while we're here. Ants! Yeah, we probably have as many ants as we need. He says as he collects the last ant. But here's a scorpion dude! They are really annoying to deal with if they see you, and they will always drop a 5 rupee, which is nice of them. But these guys like to charge at you when they see you. So the idea is to hide behind something solid so they run into it, and then slash away at them. But when they're rolling around, they are electrocuted. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for that. So maybe we can run behind this thing? Get him to run into it? There we go. That should take care of all these guys. And one other thing, while we're here and I have the bug net, you may have seen something just kind of rolling around in the distance over there. Tumbleweed. There are a lot of things that you need tumbleweed for. A lot of them. And what I like to do to grind for it is just stand in an open space and circle around with the camera like this until it spawns. I don't know why this works, but if you do this for long enough, eventually tumbleweed will spawn somewhere in some direction, and you can go chase it down. So it's what I like to do to grind for tumbleweed. It's really the only thing I feel I can grind reliably that's as useful as tumbleweed is, even though you wouldn't expect something like tumbleweed to be all that useful. I won't spend too much time with this. Maybe I'll get one more just to show you what it's like to actually do it. But depending on what direction it goes and when you spot it, you can get them fairly consistently. They'll show up at random as you're running around and looking for stuff. And there's an amber relic up there. Can we run up that? We can. Most of these we can't get up to normally, just by running up the side. We'll need access to other areas and maybe even other items to get there. But I guess this is one of the few ones that we don't need them for. But yeah, if you just randomly change your camera angle or enter a new area, you might see some tumbleweed around. And there are a lot of things it's used to craft. So if you spawn any, probably a good idea to go after it. Doesn't seem like there's anything we can do in there. Did see a goddess cube on the other side, but our Skyward Strike, as it is, isn't going to be strong enough to reach it. So we'll have to be back for that later. And more tumbleweed! You guys getting sick of the collection screen yet? I already know this, Fi. I have 4 of them. But now that we're up here, we can jump from one of these to the next. And maybe we can reach that with our bomb. Again, you don't really think you have as much reach with this thing as you actually do. I want to say we can just slice that with our sword. I don't want to waste another bomb on it. Or wait for the time it would take for it to go off. Maybe we can Skyward Strike it? This also lags the game pretty bad. We see a new kind of bokoblin, though. And this guy will electrocute you if you're not careful. What you can do with him, wait for him to swing, and then with your wooden shield, you can bash his weapon away from him and not be shocked from it. But of course, if they're out of the range of the time shift stone, they'll shift back into the present day, and they'll just become a sack of bones. So it's essentially the same as killing them, I suppose. The only difference is you can't get any drops from them if you just knock them out of your area. So if you're hoping that they drop a small treasure or something, you're not going to get it by killing them that way. But apparently the beetle is technology that these little fellas have worked with. And he'll add a hook to our beetle, which will allow us to carry things with the beetle now. So that'll be interesting. Now we can take the beetle, launch it, and if we launch it into something like a bomb, it can hold it, we can fly around with it, and drop it and stuff. So we can do that with each of these, and again, it takes a little while to do, and most of the stuff we'll find doing just, you know, tutorial stuff with it, flying around to places that we really don't need to be going to. Rupees, amber relics, and whatnot, but I'm sure you can see where it'll be useful later on. And they make decent use of that mechanic around here. So it's interesting that they build on items that you pick up, like, in the very beginning of the game. Like the beetle we picked up as our first item in the Skyview Temple. Even now is becoming more and more useful as the game goes on. So it's interesting in that regard. But is there anywhere else we can go with this hook beetle now? We can also use it to kill that guy. Because you know he's going to be irritating if we don't deal with him now. Unfortunately, the hitbox on the beetle is a lot bigger than it looks. So you want to be extra careful with how far away you fly from stuff. Yeah, but you knew he was going to be trouble if we didn't kill him. So now we have the slow and arduous task of opening up each one of these so we can use them as platforms to get across. But this mechanic will be a lot more interesting later on. And just being able to see the trajectory of the item that you're going to drop is incredibly helpful. I will say that's one of the mechanics about this game that I enjoy the most, that you can actually see how you're going to roll something or how you're going to throw something Because in previous Zelda games, it's one of the things that irritated me the most. Where I'd waste a bunch of bombs trying to figure out exactly how I need to throw it or what the timing had to be. It just made the experience a lot less enjoyable. Like, I specifically remember the first case of that in Ocarina of Time is when you're climbing Death Mountain and they tell you, after Dodongo's Cavern, to go see the Great Fairy at the top, and then there's one rock that you need to have good timing on your throw in order to access. And the timing for that is irritating if you're not familiar with it. Waste a ton of bombs there, at least I did. So over there is a guy who's not very nice. He'll fly around and he'll try to drop rocks on our head. I don't know why, but he's not a very nice person. I think I heard another cicada. Where are you, Sand Cicada? But yeah, he'll be throwing rocks at us for no reason. I hear you, Cicada. Tumbleweed! Tumbleweed! Always collect the tumbleweed. And as much as I'd like to get the Sand Cicada, I know that this thing's gonna drop a rock on me if I'm not careful. And also these guys. You're not gonna drop a rock on me, are you? No, good. So now they have these guys on the quicksand. Easy way to kill them just by dropping a bomb on them. And the interesting thing is, their shells will just kind of stick around for a little while. So can I reach you with the sword? Nope, you're electrified. Okay. Never tried that before. Out of my way, please. No good. Oh yeah, but I keep forgetting the spin attack actually takes stamina away from you. I mean, I don't use it too frequently, but usually when I do, I'm full on stamina. So, some of the time I don't even think about it. But these guys will respawn because you do need them for platforms to get around. I don't know if I can get from one to the next without using him, though. I might be... probably not, no. I thought I'd be able to make it. So I guess we are going to have to use him to get around. Of course, the problem is actually being able to kill him. But again, they have these positioned nicely so that you can use the beetle to just snipe them from the air. And thankfully they don't react to you using the beetle. I guess they can't see you from above. And since we will be back around the perimeter above here later, you can just decide to jump down here. But since we have to make our way across anyway, we might as well take care of the Goddess Cube now. The desert area, it does have some interesting mechanics to it, but I will admit it's probably one of the slower areas to go through. There's not too much here of interest. There's a lot of running on quicksand. And as nifty as the time shift mechanic is, I guess it's not really used to its fullest potential, because you still have to spend a lot of time going through this area, more than most people would really want to. Takes a while to get from place to place, all that stuff. And they're not the most entertaining tasks to undertake. But the desert does get a lot more interesting as we go through it. It's just that the beginning area, there isn't all that much to it. And like all the other areas, if we make our way around, we can give ourselves a shortcut so we don't have to do all that annoying stuff again. I will say, I like the fact that even though we have a better version of the shield and the iron shield, that the first shield that we buy, the wooden one, still has a use here because the iron shield wouldn't protect us from electric attacks. And I'm sure you know that it's going to be outclassed later on, but it's nice that we can upgrade the first equipment that we got and have it still be useful. We have more of these guys, and we see that the quicksand's actually moving around this time. So what are we going to do about that? This is where it gets a little tricky, because as soon as we kill that guy... I think you can guess what's going to happen, just based on the direction the quicksand is flowing. But this will actually start moving. So we want to make sure we get on it. And this thing's not going to last forever. So it's probably best to get off this and refresh with a new one. I think I could see some dragonflies over there. Maybe they're worth going to. Hi, buddy. Yeah, since the platforms are slightly raised, you're not going to have to worry about them getting you up here. But like most bugs, the dragonflies will fly away if you make too much of a motion. Forget, where's the bomb? Probably get the bomb from up here. Maybe, if we're careful. Nope. Because I'm afraid as soon as I grab the bomb that it's going to hit a branch and explode. But you do have to be close enough to actually reach it. So let's see if this shell will last long enough for us to make it all the way across. They do last a decent length of time. I don't remember if there's anything in the thing over there that we want. But I think once we're close enough, it should start to decay. Yeah, there it goes. Once it starts to shake, you know it's going to go down. So you want to be careful around that thing. I don't imagine there's anything all that useful here. 10 rupees. I've seen more useless things in my life. But also note the direction that the quicksand is flowing. You will be pushed back if you're going against it. So you should be mindful of that as you go too. And again, when we make our way through here, go back, make yourself a shortcut so you never have to do it again. Because we will be back here later, whether you want to be or not. In fact, there's a whole new area back there we will not be able to access for a very long time. So just make sure, make it easier on yourself. I mean, you could probably guess what we're going to get that'll make it easier to get around here, and maybe we won't even need to knock this thing down to access it later. But if you find yourself having to make your way around, or if we want to use that bird statue to make it back to this side, you don't want to have to do all of that shell surfing again to get here, because that'll take forever. So that's enough for this area for now.